Then there's my favorite example. The Interior Department is in charge of salmon while they're in freshwater, but the Commerce Department handles them when they're in saltwater. I hear it gets even more complicated once they're smoked.
State of the Union, the salmon edition.
And you know, there were a lot of applause lines last night, but the ones that caught our attention were the laugh lines. Top line begins right now.
Hello and welcome to ABC News Top Line. I am Zach Wolf.
And I am Jonathan Carl on Capitol Hill.
Every day we bring you the latest, the greatest, and today a little State of the Union hangover. Follow us online at Twitter, at @ZByronWolf and at John Carl. And with that, John, start us off.
Well, I'm going to start with morning in America, or is it? We have some good economic news today. The Dow has passed 12,000 for the first time since the financial crisis in 2008. First-time jobless benefits dropped off dramatically, we just learned from the Labor Department. And in fact, there are now the smallest number of people on unemployment insurance at any time since 2008. So looks like a pretty decent round of good economic news. But Zach, I know you get into the details, and you saw today that the Congressional Budget Office came out with a report. And in that report, they predicted that the unemployment rate would still be at over 8% by December of 2012. That's certainly better than where we are now, but not looking good.
It's better than we are now. It's probably not where you want to be running a presidential campaign from if you are the president, having unemployment at 8%. But I guess for him, maybe the trend line is going in the right direction. And we have to give a hat tip to our Matt Jaffe, who wears many hats here at ABC, including Senate producer, Treasury reporter, and everything else. Moving on, though, we have Cheesehead Nation. And with that 2012 campaign, the president is headed to Wisconsin today. Wisconsin's on everybody's mind. The new chairman of the RNC, Reince Priebus, is from Wisconsin. The Republican version of the State of the Union, their rebuttal was given by Paul Ryan from Wisconsin last night. Everybody's in the cheesehead state of mind. And John, we should point out this is going to be a battleground in 2012, but it was a battleground in 2010 too. Republicans picked up 2 House seats there. Yeah. Democrats lost the Senate and they lost the governor. What do you think of the Badger State?
Well, don't forget the Packers. I mean, they're going to the Super Bowl. This really has emerged as a central battleground state, one that Obama won by 14% in 2008. And, you know, you mentioned they won the Senate seat. They won those 2 House seats. As they won the governor's seat, they also won both the Assembly and the state Senate. So it was a clean sweep for Republicans in Wisconsin. And now I think the president's going back in an effort to try to get that back in the Democratic column. Next up, the Thune swoon. John Thune talked to ABC News last night, sounding like a guy that is getting very close to making a decision on running for president. Listen to what he had to say.
It won't be long. I mean, we realize that in order to, if we were going to do this, that you have to get moving. The clock is ticking, obviously.
That was John Thune talking to our very own Gregory Simmons. And what's interesting here, Zach, is we also heard yesterday from Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, at a breakfast sponsored by Politico, going on and on and on about how much he likes John Thune, almost seemed to be nudging him in the direction of a presidential run.
Sure, but, you know, a caveat, and we love caveats here on Top Line. Barack Obama notwithstanding, it's still going to be very hard to run a presidential campaign from the Senate. Barack Obama, John F. Kennedy, the 2 only examples in recent memory who came to the presidency from the Senate. So something for Mr. Thune to think about. Next up, we have interstate commerce. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie launched a new radio ad trying to poach jobs from Illinois, where they're raising the income tax. Take a listen.
Have you had enough of Illinois' outrageous tax increases that stifle businesses and cause jobs? Then move your business to New Jersey.
Hi, I'm Chris Christie, Governor of the state of New Jersey. I know what you're thinking. Move my business to New Jersey? Really? Really?
He promises never to raise your taxes. Of course, this is already turning into a great political catfight. We had the Illinois Governor, Pat Quinn, saying that Chris Christie is going to not raise your taxes by raiding entitlements for state workers. So we'll keep an eye on this one, John.
What I loved about that ad is how much of it he goes on to tout his record, not only on taxes, but also on regulations and making that vow never to raise taxes. But we have a guy here who really doesn't like to raise taxes, Congressman Jeff Flake from Arizona. Thank you for joining us. You, I think it is safe to say, are one of the most hardcore deficit hawks, spending hawks in the Congress. I mean, you are a guy that doesn't seem to like spending money on anything. And now you're on the Appropriations Committee. Have you gone native? I mean, what's happened here?
Stranger things have happened, but not
Really?
much stranger. No, it's odd. It's a bit of a lonely experience.
So what's your approach going to be?
You know, I've felt for a long time that with the Appropriations Committee, they ought to have room for at least one person who wants to cut spending rather than spend more money. So gratefully this time there's myself and a few other freshmen who are willing to cut as well. So I hope it's a new environment. We'll see. We'll have the big test in the next couple of weeks as we deal with the 2011 budget, which we still haven't finished. And then you've got 12, and then you've got the debt limit increase. And so we'll know pretty fast if we're serious or not.
Congressman, last night the president drew a line in the sand. He had sort of a read my lips moment where he said he will veto any spending bill that comes to him with earmarks. Is he going to be able to keep that pledge?
Yeah, he can, certainly. And I've said all along, any promise any president made, and that includes Barack Obama in the past, it includes President Bush, when they said they'll cut earmarks down, they'll have the cost or whatever else, those were meaningless statements. The only meaningful statement is when a president says, I'll veto bills that have earmarks in them. So he said the right thing. Whether or not he follows through, we'll have to see.
Of course, it might be easier because you guys aren't going to put any earmarks in this time.
There's still the Senate never adopted our ban,
Right,
and
right.
and there are some here who wanted to get back to the practice. So I have a feeling he'll have the chance to do that, and I hope he follows through. It's the right thing to do. The truth is, we have such huge issues on the budget. Earmarks are a small part.
Yeah,
we
right.
ought to remove that distraction and just deal with the budget itself. And so for anybody thinking of sticking earmarks in bills now, that's just nuts.
But you know, frankly, it can get a little frustrating watching, and I'm sure we're only in this a few weeks, but watching the new Republican leadership talk about spending cuts.
Right.
It's over and over again, but there are precious few specifics. I mean, today you're voting on doing away with financing for presidential elections.
Right.
That's like $50 million a year at most. So what I mean, where's the beef?
Well, you'll see in the next couple of weeks, and I hope that we have the guts to do it. But I don't know. I really don't know at this point. So we'll have to see when we deal with the 2011 budget. There are going to be a number of us Republicans who will offer greater cuts than are being offered. We want the $100 billion.
The
that
real
we said that
$100
we do.
billion.
The real $100 billion.
Not on an annualized basis.
And so those amendments will be offered either in the Appropriations Committee or on the floor, or maybe both.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see how the leadership reacts. So anyway, we'll test our resolve pretty fast. But you're right. Precious few items have really been outlined that would save significant money.
And Congressman, one last quick thing. The president talked last night about wanting to simplify the tax code. That's something that a lot of Republicans have wanted to do for a long time. You have a proposal to further complicate the tax code by allowing people to put 10% of their income to paying down the national debt. You know, wouldn't that cause problems and essentially eviscerate the nation's tax basis?
Well, now here's what you recognize. If we're unable to do it here, then at least allow individuals to say, I want 10% of my income tax revenue to go to pay down the debt and for nothing else. And if Congress fails to make commensurate cuts to effectuate that, then there's a rescission that does that for them. It's a recognition that we don't have the guts here in Congress to do what we have to do to trim the deficit.
Okay, Zach lied. One last very quick one. Paul Ryan, he's going to be, spearheading the budget effort. Is he serious on this? And were you one of those that co-sponsored his his plan?
I am. I like the roadmap. I'm unapologetic there, and Paul's the best we have on this. He really is, and so if we follow his lead, we'll be far better than we are now.
Why did so few Republicans sign on to that roadmap?
I don't know. I think they'll get there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congressman Flake, appreciate it.
Good to see you.